Hello friends, welcome back. In this video, we'll see response validation using different assertions. So let's start it. In API testing, we send the request, we get the response. If we observe the response, we get status code headers, status code text, response body, response time, cookies, and JSON schema. So in this particular video, we'll validate all these parameters. So let's start it. If you run any API locally, you will not see cookies. But if you run real-time APIs, we will have cookies information. So in this, will not validate cookies. In real-time application, we will validate these cookies. To write the scripts in Postman, we need to go in scripts. There are two tabs, pre-request and post response. So we validating response. So we will write the script in post response tab. In Postman, we writing script using JavaScript language. So in Postman, in JavaScript, we have Chai assertion library or framework. By using that, we can validate all types of HTTP methods response like get, post, put, delete. All type of HTTP methods response we can validate using Chai assertion library or framework. We can use two types of syntax to write the script. So first is using function syntax and second is the arrow function syntax. So in function syntax, we can use pm.test into bracket test name functions, then assertions, and then closes curly brackets. So pm is nothing but postman dot test into bracket test name, whatever you want to test, then these functions, and then here the assertions and closing the brackets. So this is the function syntax. Now arrow function syntax. In arrow function syntax, similar pm.test into bracket test name comma your brackets closed, then arrow, then open curly brackets, assertions, and close the bracket. So this is the second syntax similar to first one using arrow function syntax. So these both syntax are useful, but in new updates they have used the arrow function syntax. So while validating all these parameters in this video, we'll use arrow function syntax. So let's start to validating status code. So first upon all, we will validate the status code. So here first check for specific status code. Suppose we are running this get request and we get 200 response status codes. So simply we can validate this test. So pm.test into bracket status code is 200, whatever expected, then comma brackets, then arrow, then open curly brackets, then pm dot response to have status code 200. So this is our validation. So we can run now. So if we run or hit this request, then we will get our test pass because we getting 200 response. So now the second validation, check for one of multiple status codes. So suppose I want to check for more status codes, then similarly pm.test into bracket successful get request comma brackets close arrow, then open curly braces, then pm.expect pm response code to be one of into array 200 comma 2 not 1. So in this syntax, in this format, we can validate more number of status codes. So if we run, then we get 200 as of now. So our response status code response is present there. So that's why this test get passed. Now check status code text. So next validation is status code text. So similarly we just write pm.response to have status okay. So our text are okay only. So for okay we can validate this. So now this about the validating status code, where we validated specific status code, multiple status codes, and status code text. Next validation is the headers. So to validate the headers, we can click on headers. So here you can see content type application slash JSON char set is equal to UTF slash 8. So this is the header and headers value. So while validating this, so first check if header is present. So pm.test content type header is present. So you are giving the validation like pm.response to have header content type. So if you hit the request, then this case should be passed, because our response has content type. So that's why this case should be passed. Now check the headers value. We know what's the value for header. So here we can validate that pm.expect response headers.get content type equal to application that JSON char set UTF-8. So we can pass this, so our case will be get passed. So now third, that content type header is application JSONs. So here we use to equal. Now we can use the content to include, means include functions, so if it is present. So pm.expect pm.response headers.get content type to include JSON. So this case will be get passed. So here at the output side we can see 3 cases related to headers get passed. So now we'll validate the cookies. So here this is the local application, so we will not get any cookies, but we try to validate this. So first check if cookie is present or not. So pm.test into bracket cookies language is present. Then pm.expect pm cookies has language to be true. If it is present, then it will be give true. And the second validation is that check cookies value. So now will equal to ENGB. Suppose this some values where we are validating. So now run the request. If you run the request, then you will get these both cases are failed because our application don't have the cookies. So that's why these are failing. Now the next validation is the response time. So we'll check response time is below threshold. So pm.test response type is less than 5 millisecond. Then pm.expect pm response time to be below 5. If it is below 5, so it will get fast, otherwise not. So let's validate this. So click the request. So here you get the response time is more than 5 seconds, that why it get failing. So now the next validation is validating response body. So here first check value types. So we'll take the JSON data. So you keep take one constant and give the name as JSON data, and pm.response.json, whatever response we getting, we will store it in this constant. Now we'll apply the validation pm.test test data type of response. Then if suppose expect JSON data to be an object, JSON data dot name to be a string, JSON data ID should be number, and the course should be array. So this check the value types, means it should be object, string, number, array. The second validation on a response body is that the check array properties. Suppose we need to check the array properties. So pm.expect JSON data course to include Java. So there is one array where values are Java and Python. So we can apply the validation that to include Java or to have members Java Python. If you want to validate one single language, then you can use to include. If you have more than to have members Java Python, you can use that. And next, last, here similar way for array properties we can use uh, to have members Java Python in single lines also. Okay, so similar to above lines. So now we'll see check specific JSON fields data. So we know what is the response we getting. So pm.test validate specific fields in JSON response. Then expect JSON data ID is equal to 1, JSON data dot name is equal to John, location is equal to India, phone is equal to that, course is equal to Java, and JSON data dot course is equal to Selenium. So now we'll validate this. So click on get, so here we can validate. So we'll get all this request gets passed. Here test data type of response is passed. One thing is failed, that test array properties assertion here. So to have same members as Java file. Here in response we have Java Selenium, but here we passing Java Python, right? So missing something, so that's why this getting failed. So now we'll see the next step, that is validating JSON schema. JSON schema is nothing but the data about the data, or metadata we can say. JSON schema is a blueprint that defines the structure and data types of the JSON response. It ensures the API's response matches the expected format, making validation easier. So this one is the website where you can get the JSON schema. So copy the response, go to this website, paste your response here, and click on I am not a robot, and then generate a schema. So you will get this schema at output. Here you can say this schema. So the schema is nothing but the combination of value types or different fields get mentions. There is a blueprint that defines structure and types of JSON response, data types of response. It ensures the API response matches the expected format, making validation easier. So now we'll validate this. So this is our sample. So this is the sample JSON schema where we taken this from this website, where mentioned that ID integer, name should be string, location should be string, phone type should be string, right? ID should be integer. So as this way, this is a JSON schema, and required fields are ID, name, location, phone, courses. So this one is the schema. So now for schema validation, we can use pm.test schema is valid into function comma function. So now pm.expect tv4.validate JSON data comma schema to be true. So here we know that our schema is stored in variable, like where we are storing all this schema, right? So now pm.expect tv4 valid JSON data is also stored somewhere, schema is stored here. So here tv4 is nothing but a schema validator. Nowadays AZV or AZ4 used recently in a Postman, but we are using tv4. So tv4 is nothing but this schema validator which validate your response. In above we define the constant where our JSON data is stored. This will check the data types and response or values and stored. Here where schema also second variable where stored entire JSON schema of response body. Our response body each dynamic, it should change, so we are mentioning as an where, but our the JSON data types are constant, so we mention this data type or variable as a constant. So if we run this, so you will get the results as sparse schema is valid, because because we passing the correct schema, that's why it get passed. So we can quickly review that our all cases are passed. Status code 200 is passed, successful get request is passed, status code name is string is passed, content type header is passed, content type header application JSON is passed, content type header application JSON is passed, cookies related cases are failed, response time also this also failed because the response time is not matching our threshold. So test data types response also passed, test array properties is getting failed because we passing the wrongs value in array, that's why it get failing. And now we validate the specific fields in JSON response also schema. So as this way we can perform the different validation on your status codes, your headers, your cookies, your response time using pm.test or that library or framework. We can call it a chai library, or we can call while writing the JavaScript we use that library, that chai assertion library or framework. So using that we can validate all these responses for response parameters.